let's talk 5-star reads of 2024, and this could be an exceptionally long video. Hi, Katie here. You may know me over on TikTok and Instagram as Reading with Katie Louise, and I'm here to bring you my 5-star reads of 2024 so far. So I am going to try and do these in order of from January up to the end of August at time of recording. So we'll see how we go. They may not be perfectly in order, but yeah. So first book I want to talk about is The Curfew by T.M. Logan. So this I read at the beginning of January and was an instant 5-star read for me. If a book has me thinking about it at 3 in the morning after I've been to bed and woken up again, and I have to get up and finish it at 3 a.m. and then go do a day at work, 5-star read in my book. So this follows the main character being the dad of one of the boys who has been out into the woods with a few of his mates, and apart from one of them doesn't come back out, and it's a case of trying to find out what happened. The son of the main character in this is currently in the frame, and as you can tell by the title, it is relating to his curfew. He didn't come on for his curfew, but what was he doing? Was he involved or was he not? So it looks at what happened, and yeah, honestly, you will not see this coming, and this was the perfect first 5-star. Next up, and another January read, so starting the year strong, was The Prisoner by B.A. Paris. This, again, had me up in the middle of the night thinking about it, to the point, again, I was up in the early hours before a full day at work reading this book. This follows two characters as they are imprisoned separately but in the same building, and it's a case of trying to find out the information, trying to get them to turn on each other and see if it works. I am not saying any more than that to you because, wow, this was such a good read. It is relatively short, quick, snappy, and honestly another twist you won't see coming, and it has made me want to pick up more books by this author. Next up was an audiobook that I actually picked up, and that was The Castaways by Lucy Clark. I haven't actually sort of read much by her, and this was my first audiobook of the year as well as my first 5-star audiobook at that. It follows people who get stuck on a lost island, and yeah, honestly, I thought it would be difficult to read a crime or listen to a crime as such, and I actually really enjoyed this. It had my mouth dropping, even though I was doing other things while listening to this book. It still had me hooked enough to be subconsciously listening more than I should have been doing my work. So yeah, if you want an audiobook, definitely recommend this one, but also just recommend picking it up. I almost want to pick up the physical and read it again, and I've never actually had that feeling about a book. Next up, and in a February read, was The List of Suspicious Things by Jenny Godfrey. Now this isn't the usual pick for me. Obviously I do put on here that I'm a crime and thriller girly, however this is crime, but it's very different. So this follows two girls where one of them is having to move away because of the Yorkshire Ripper, so it is almost based on a true story, but obviously with a bit of fiction thrown in there. And basically they go about trying to find out who the Yorkshire Ripper is, and they create a list of suspicious things. This did come with drama and did pack a punch, and once I finished reading it I almost felt like it was a 4-star, but actually the more I thought about it I couldn't stop thinking about it, so that made it a 5-star read for me. I mean, I read this 6 months ago and I'm still thinking about it now. Like, such a good book, and obviously being a Yorkshire girl, it was a book I had to pick up, and I almost forgot it was about the Yorkshire Ripper because I was trying to guess who it was. That is the kind of book that we're talking about here. But yeah, this, definite recommend and an absolute pick up. Next up is probably a book you will see appear in so many of my videos on BookTok, Bookstagram and BookTube, and that is Eeny Meeny by MJ Arledge. Oh my goodness. So I actually accidentally came across this series. I was in the works and I saw a lot of his books for 3 for £6, and not 3 for £6, £3 each, and I was like, oh, and the first one I particularly saw was Hide and Seek. That is actually book 7, I believe, in the series. And yeah, I was like, oh my goodness. So then I had to go out and buy the rest. This is the first in the series, and does it come with a bang. So this follows a series of people who are kidnapped in duos, and the only way that they can get out is if one unalives the other. And it's a case of how much do they trust each other to not do it. And yeah, a lot of unalivings take place, and it is a very bizarre storyline. That is what I love about MJ Arledge. Nothing I read is actually a storyline I've read before, which is what I love, because sometimes crimes can get so repetitive. And yeah, this was just something really different, really twisted, quick and easy, short chapters. You're talking like 2 to 3 pages per chapter. So such a quick and easy read, and oh my goodness, what a way to start the series. If you want to know more about this series, I am waiting to finish the books before I post a booktube on him, but please go over to my TikTok, I've put the order there and what they're all about. But yeah, absolutely, pick this up if you are a crime and thriller girly. Next up is another genre change for me, and we read this for book club earlier this year, and that was Wayward by Amelia Hart. Like I said, obviously this is a 5-star because this is what the video is about, but this is actually women's fiction. It follows 3 women in different time frames, and it talks about women's rights, etc. And there is a bit of a twist to it in terms of the like witchy side of it. I'm not going to say much more than that. All I'll say is I went into this book blind, and I'm so glad I did. Again, it was another book that I was like, oh, 4-star, but I could not stop thinking about. And the fact that in book club we read it once a week over the month, I just wanted to continue reading it. So I found it really hard to stop. And yeah, not my usual genre, so if you're here because of the crime recommendations, I would still recommend giving it a go. Like, the book club I joined, I would not have read half the books I've read if it wasn't for them. And I do think it's worth branching out for this book. Quick and easy read. I do believe, I read it on my Kindle, but I do believe that the graphics in the paperbacks are actually really pretty as well, which is always an added bonus. Continuing on from the series, I binged this series and I came to book 5, Little Boy Blue. This is the shortest book in the series, and oh my gosh, does it pack a punch. This actually follows a series of unalivings, and they all actually link back to D.I. Helen Grace. She knows all of the victims but cannot say that because it is like a secret part of her life. She also wants to find out what's going on, but while trying not to like reveal the hidden part of her life she doesn't want other people to know about. You will not see this ending, and oh my gosh, so much so it ends on such a cliffhanger in this book, you'll want to pick up the next one. That is all I'm going to say, but yeah, absolute 5-star, took me less than a day to read, absolute recommend. Next up is a bit of a random book in my 5-star reads, and probably not, I don't think I've actually ever rated anything in this genre a 5-star until now. Twisted Lies by Ana Huang. Bit of a red herring in my list of 5 stars of the year, but I read the whole series. I did start Twisted Love and Twisted Games last year, and I actually had to stop because I found Twisted Games was very repetitive because it told the ending of Twisted Love at the beginning of Twisted Games, so I gave the series a break. I then picked up Twisted Hate, enjoyed it, listened to the last 2 on audio as well because I found the size of some of these books a bit intimidating for romance. But yeah, the drama that came with the romance in this, like, oh my goodness. So this actually follows Christian and Stella, who, if you've read the rest of the series, you will know who they are. This book does tie up the other 3, so you do need to read them in order. But yeah, this just comes with so much more like drama, which might be why I enjoyed it. Like, I love a bit of smut in my romance, but I'm not for your stereotypical like lovey-dovey stuff, and I do love a bit of drama, and this came with that. If you haven't read the Twisted series, definitely recommend it. It is on KU, but I actually listened to this in audio, and oh my gosh, was I hooked on this book. Next up on my list was a complete random discovery. I've had The Echo Man and The 20 both on my TBR for a while. I actually picked one of them up for my birthday back in February, and the second one actually came the day after in the post for my actual birthday. So it was like, oh, that was timed well. So I didn't realise they were a series. I'd actually picked up The 20. Somebody gifted me The Echo Man. So that being said, the first book is The Echo Man in the series, and wow, did it start with a bang. I actually felt like reading on my Kindle, so tried to tackle my physical TBR looking at my Kindle TBR. And yeah, this is actually on Kindle Unlimited, the first book in the series, so what's not to love? Yeah, this follows a series of unalivings, and it follows the major crime team as they try to solve the unalivings that are going on. It is later on that they then discover that one person is going around recreating several serial unalivers, and yeah, this is gritty. Like, such a good crime, an absolute recommend, and it pushed me straight on for the series. But yeah, if you haven't picked up this book, pick it up. If you're Kindle Unlimited, even better. But yeah, this absolute just twisty book, did not see it coming. So in and amongst the 5-star reads that came with Sam Holland, I was actually listening to His and Hers by Alice Feeney. Again, this is an attempt to tackle my physical TBR. It became available in Libby, and I hadn't actually read anything by Alice Feeney, so I was pleasantly surprised when I gave her first book a 5-star. This follows a series of unalivings that all seem to connect back to one person. That one person is a reporter. She keeps getting there first on the scene, and yeah, it doesn't look good for her. It also happens that her ex-partner is a detective actually investigating it. So yeah, honestly, it's from his and her point of view, but yeah, didn't see all this coming. The ending had me hooked. Like, I had to put down my work and listen to it. Like, normally I can listen and engage and it's still a really good read, but if you find a book that can make you stop everything when you're listening to it, it's a definite read. And as you see, it was on my physical TBR, and I may reread it in the future if I ever tackle the rest of them. But yeah, definitely need to give Alice Feeney a try. But as I said earlier, I absolutely loved the Sam Holland Major Crime series, and I gave the second book as well 5 stars. I read this pretty much straight after the Echo Man. I couldn't stop thinking about the ending to the Echo Man. The 20 doesn't actually really relate to the Echo Man. It does keep mentioning it, but it is a different part of the Major Crimes unit. So this follows a series of unalivings, and it is only later on that they discover that it started several years ago, and actually they're counting down from 20 down to 1. Question is, do they make it to number 1? It's very well thought out, very twisty, and the cliffhanger in this, I picked up the Puppet Master straight away and was actually rather irritated that I didn't find out the answer to this cliffhanger until about halfway through the Puppet Master. So the Puppet Master isn't going to feature in this video. I did only rate that 4 stars. There was a lot more character development, and when you've read such twisty books like the first 2 in the series, it doesn't just quite bring it enough. But yeah, this, another one to the list. Unfortunately not on KU, but picking up the series in paperback is still well worth it. So next up was actually an ARC I received this year, and that was The Caregiver. I did not expect to love this as much as I did. I inhaled it in a day. I always start an ARC about a week before release. Gives me a chance to write the review properly, put it on all the appropriate platforms and schedule it to go out when it's appropriate. What I did not realise was how much I would enjoy this book. So it follows a family whose mum is unwell and needs an extra care. Someone on the street is looking for work, and is basically saying that she's getting kicked out of where she's living, and so she takes on the position of a living carer. Not long after that, the mother passes away, and it's time for her to leave, apart from she states that she was in a 6-month contract and needs to be able to stay living in the house. This is dark. This is weird. This is just, yeah. You need to pick it up. As far as I'm aware, it is available on Kindle Unlimited. First thing I've ever read by this author is N.L. Hinkins, but oh my goodness, I can't even explain this book to you, how good it was. Like, my jaw was on the floor. I sat out in the garden and inhaled this in like 3 hours. It's a quick and easy read. It's reasonably short as well. The chapters are reasonably short, but I was really creeped out by it. But that's a good thing in a crime. It means it's well written, and I will be looking out for more books by this author in the future. But wow, what a bang of a book that was, and I only read that a month or 2 ago. Just yes. So another one, and a little bit of a red herring really, again in these books, and that is Hooked by Emily McIntyre. I was so kindly gifted these over on TikTok by Books to Door, and I thought it was about time I picked them up. They are all on Kindle Unlimited as well, so I did actually pick this up on Kindle. They've been staring at me in my bookcase for a while now, and I guess I just wanted to pick them up. This is actually quite good. It is like a bit of a Peter Pan retelling. It's a bit of a dark romance, so I suppose it depends what you're on my channel for and if you've come across this video for whatever reason. But yeah, follows Wendy, get the relation, and it follows James. James being the nickname Hook, and yeah, he's not particularly a good guy, she's the innocent girl. I'm not going to say any more, but I inhaled this in a day. Definite recommend. This one, it may come as no surprise that this year has Steve Kavanagh in the 5-star rating. Everyone knows I'm obsessed with him. You will have probably seen my video on here of me meeting him recognising me from my socials, and he released a new book at the beginning of August, and I was lucky enough to get my hands on an ARC, so I actually read this on my Kindle as an advanced copy. However, when I met him in August, I had to get the physical, which lives so proudly on my bookshelf. This follows basically someone is unalived on a very quiet neighbourhood, and someone witnesses it, witness 8. But she doesn't do what most people would do, and she doesn't actually go and report it and claim to be a witness. She actually sets somebody else up for the crime. This was bizarre. If you have read the rest of the Eddie Flynn series, you may have shed a tear. I did. There is a lot of character development in Steve Kavanagh's Eddie Flynn series, and yeah, it just goes without saying, like, it's a must. But oh my goodness, absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. I'd say no more about Steve Kavanagh, but I honestly was actually only knowing about this being a 4 or a 5-star rating, and I actually ended it being a 5, because I just couldn't stop thinking about it and the fact it teared me up. And I did point that out to him, as you will see in my other video. But yeah, if you haven't read Steve Kavanagh, read the rest of the series first, but absolute recommend. Next up was an audio pick, and that was Small Joys. I actually picked this up because of a bookish bingo prompt in the Discord I'm in, and it was a recommendation from a fellow BookToker who I will put on the screen briefly. He recommended it to me. I listened to this on audio, but I inhaled it. It was not something I thought I would give 5 stars. It follows a friendship, sort of. It follows a bit of everything really. So it follows Harley, who comes back from university after having dropped out, and who is going through a few issues, including discovering about his sexuality. A few of his friends are going through the same thing, through religious beliefs and his how his sexuality affects that, and friendships and mental health. There's just so many things going on in this book, but it's not in your face and it's so well put through. And listening to the audiobook had me feeling so many different emotions, like happiness for the friendship, sadness for the mental health. I felt emotional. And a book that makes me feel so many different emotions is an instant 5-star for me. Honestly cannot recommend this. If you haven't picked it up or heard of it, please do. It was such a good listen. The last book in my 5-star ratings is Off to the Races by Elsie Silver. I read this in August as part of a read along over on TikTok with Days. Again, I'll put a profile up. She encouraged me to read this. It is on Kindle Unlimited, and I loved the Chestnut Spring series. I just wolfed through this so much, and Billy just made this book 5 stars. Billy is the main character, female main character, and oh my goodness, she has such a personality that I'm absolutely in love with. And yeah, it follows when she starts working at the Gold Rush Ranch. It follows her and Vaughn is the owner of that ranch, and he's just downright rude. As you can imagine, it's a bit of an enemies to lovers, and yeah, I just love the storyline so much and how much Billy held her own. She's just what every woman should be. So that is why I absolutely loved that book. That is all of my 5-star reads this year so far. There are a lot. I don't normally give 5 stars easily. I have to proper rave a book for that to happen. But yeah, let me know some of your 5-star reads in the comments, and as always, like and subscribe so you get to see my future videos.